So I don't have access to a computer right now that will load Camtasia or operate a webcam. So that's super. But these are my instructions for the Padlet activity. And I have 6 sections: brainstorming, developing your search string, choosing the right database, search and using limiters, evaluating your sources, selecting your source, citing your source, and integrating your source, and finally a place for sharing. So I'm encouraging the students to share all the different ways that they do those different information literacy activities. And it's information literacy from start to finish, from brainstorming through to the final product. So the first thing I want to talk about is brainstorming. And it's really important to pick the right terms for your search. So one option is to use the Library of Congress subject headings, which is like tags for databases. So all of the libraries in the world use the MARC record, and the databases also use the MARC record, which uses the Library of Congress subject heading. So if you can find your subject heading for your topic, you'll be in good shape. So I have an example here for you that's the death penalty, and if you see down there, the label is actually capital punishment. I don't know how well that recorded or not, but that's really good. So if you can get that term capital punishment instead of death penalty, then you'll probably have a lot more relevant hits in the databases. Another option is to use one of the reference databases called Credo and use their mind map feature, and I have the directions for that on the Padlet itself. Next, you really want to develop your search string by using the words and, or, and not, and you want to capitalize those words so that they don't get searched as individual terms. You also want to put any phrase that you have, such as capital punishment, in quotation marks, so that it will look for capital punishment as a term and not for capital and punishment separately. Then you want to really choose the right database. So if your subject was the death penalty or capital punishment, then you would probably want to use the ProQuest criminal justice database. Or you might want to use something like LexisNexis to look up individual court cases. It's really important that you choose the right database. There are different types of databases. There are reference databases like Credo Reference and Gale Virtual Reference Library and Oxford Reference, where you want to go to get an overview of your topic. Then there are general databases like ProQuest Central and Academic OneFile, where you can get an overview of current events or lower level research. It's really good for freshmen and sophomores. But you want to get a subject-specific database like MLA for English, or the Yale Literary Sources would be good for English, or PsycArticles or PsycInfo for psychology, and so forth. Once you have all of that together and you've got your right database and you've put your search string together with the right terms, then you're going to start looking at the use of limiters. So that's things like peer-reviewed or scholarly journals is a limiter, date is a limiter, and also document type or source type is a limiter. And those are really the 3 main types of limiters that people need to use to find what they're looking for. So scholarly or peer-reviewed, source type or document type, and by date. So a lot of times, especially if it's a medical resource, then you want to limit it to the last 5 years. And in some cases, going all the way back in history or literature won't make much of a difference. But there is also new research in those fields too, so you might want to have some newer research too if you have really old research. Evaluating your sources is what we have next. So you want to get the most accurate source that you can. So think of it this way: accuracy equals authority or authorship objectivity or bias, scope, and timeliness. And these days, plus judgment. You want to read the abstract if that is a possibility for your journal article or source. And then if you choose to use these non-traditional sources like blogs or TED Talks, then judgment is really the only tool you have for evaluating how accurate that is, because you don't have access really to the author, or well, you might, but you might not. So you need to be careful when you're using those non-traditional sources. They're nice to use and nice to have access to, but you need to be a little more careful and make sure that you get your professor's consent if you're using one of those types of sources. And finally, you want to select, cite, and integrate your sources into your product or paper. I had that book around here somewhere. I have this cute little book called They Say, I Say, The Moves That Matter in Academic Writing. Here it is. So that's a great book. It has these templates. You can see where I've marked the templates, and I included the index of templates on my Padlet. So once you've selected your source, you might say, well, then what? Now what do I do with it? Well, you're going to integrate it into your writing. So you're going to show, support your point with a source, or maybe show a oppositional view from the point of view that you're taking. And this index will show you a multitude of ways of incorporating your sources into your writing. And finally, you want to make sure you cite your source well. And I've put the link to Purdue OWL on the Padlet so that you can look up the right citation style for APA, MLA, or Chicago style in the latest editions. So that's it. That's the instructions for Padlet. And then finally, what you want to do, the most important thing, is you want to share what you would do for brainstorming, developing your search string, choosing the right database, using the limiters, evaluating your sources, and integrating your material. And then if you want to share too your final product, that would be great. Thanks for watching.